Hola amigos, ¿qué tal? Stu here from Spain Speaks with a Spain news update. And Spain's first big heatwave of the summer has begun, but more about that in just a moment. Firstly, a big thanks to all of the people that left comments on the last video. Lots of comments, lots of debate happening there as usual. Thanks to people that supported the channel through a donation. You can see your name here. Thanks to people that bought merchandise, and a big thanks to my patrons on Patreon for your continuing support. Now let's get into the news, and as I said, the heat wave has begun. The majority of the country experiencing very high temperatures at the moment. There are some places in the north of the country, I think 3 autonomous communities in the north are not experiencing the heat wave. For example, Galicia, Asturias and Cantabria, but the rest of the country is. As we can see here, the heat wave begins in Spain, a very adverse episode that will last until Monday. The first heat wave of summer 2021 has started this Wednesday in Spain in what the state meteorological agency has described as a very adverse episode, which will probably last until next Monday. At 6 o'clock in the morning, it was over 22 degrees in cities such as Zaragoza, Madrid, Barcelona and Valencia, and over 24 degrees in Seville, Jaén, Almería, Murcia, Alicante and Palma de Mallorca. And if we have a look at a map of the country and some of the temperatures forecast for today, the 12th of August at 6 p.m, we can see that there are some very hot places indeed around the country, especially if we look at the Seville area down there in the south of Spain. So the heatwave has begun, and it will be a very adverse episode according to the Weather Bureau. Now Pedro Sánchez has reappeared. He's taken a break from his holidays and he's warning people about the extreme heat. As we can see here, Pedro Sánchez calls for collaboration and prudence in the face of the extreme risks posed by the heatwave. The extreme temperatures that almost all of Spain is facing these days are the forerunner of an extreme risk of fires. The concern is such that the Prime Minister himself, Pedro Sánchez, has used the first public act he has had in his holidays to send a warning message. With the heatwave, we are entering a wave of risk, he warned, adding that the government will be attentive to the consequences of rising temperatures. But he also appealed for help from the public. I ask for cooperation and prudence to prevent the risk as far as possible, he said. So there we go, the Prime Minister has spoken, and if you are in Spain, be careful because the risk of fire is extreme. Now we saw a map before of the heatwave situation in Spain. We saw just how hot the country is at the moment. Few are the autonomous communities that have been spared the heat wave. As we saw, it's the first main heat wave of the summer, but experts are warning that these heat waves in Spain are going to become commonplace. As we can see here, meteorologists warn of more heat waves in the future like the one Spain is experiencing. Spain's high temperatures come 3 days after the strong report by the IPCC, the UN panel of experts on climate change, which scientifically demonstrated that human action has warmed the atmosphere, the ocean and the land, and has caused profound changes in the climate, among them the rise in temperatures and the multiplication of this type of extreme phenomena. Rubén del Campo, spokesman for the AEMET, confirms that Spain has doubled the number of heat waves in just a decade. Human action is increasing the frequency and intensity of heat waves. In 30 years, a summer like today's will be considered a cold summer, he explains. So there we go, strong words from Spain weather expert Rubén del Campo, that today's summer will be considered a cold summer in 30 years' time in Spain. But hey, these are just the opinions of experts on the topic, and I'm sure that if you want to find something on Facebook that says the opposite, you'll be able to find it. Now Spain has become embroiled in another diplomatic spat. This time it's not with Morocco, but with Central American country Nicaragua. As we can see here, tension grows between Spain and Nicaragua, and the Foreign Ministry calls the ambassador to Managua for consultations. The Minister of Foreign Affairs, José Manuel Álvarez, on Wednesday recalled the Spanish ambassador to Managua, María del Mar Fernández Palacios, for consultations following the note issued yesterday by the Nicaraguan government in which serious and unfounded accusations were made against Spain and its institutions. In addition, the note from Daniel Ortega's government included gross falsehoods about Spanish judicial and electoral processes, the Foreign Ministry said in a statement. So things heating up between Spain and Central American powerhouse Nicaragua, and Spain not happy about the president of Nicaragua, Daniel Ortega, criticizing Spain and its institutions. Now there was some good news yesterday on Spain's highly anticipated COVID-19 vaccine, and it was that the Health Ministry authorized the first clinical trial of this vaccine. The Spanish Agency for Medicines and Health Products has authorized the first clinical trial of a Spanish vaccine against coronavirus developed in Spain by HIPRA Laboratories. The trial is one of the requirements that all investigational vaccines must meet to demonstrate their quality, safety and efficacy. Only after these aspects have been evaluated and if they meet regulatory standards can they be authorised for marketing. As reported by the AEMPS in a statement, this first trial will involve dozens of volunteers aged between 18 and 39 who will receive 2 doses of the vaccine, separated by a period of 21 days. So some good news there as Spain looks set to have its own COVID-19 vaccine in the near future. Now let's have a look at a summary of the health situation in Spain. We can see that the accumulated incidence rate for the last 14 days is now down to 503. Daily cases are down 25% on previous data. The amount of COVID patients hospitalised around the country has dropped below the 10,000 mark and now sits at 9,820. There are 1,947 COVID patients in ICU, and daily COVID deaths are unfortunately up 162% on previous data. When it comes to the vaccination plan, we can see that just over 61% of the population has completed vaccination, and just over 71% of the population have received at least 1 dose. Now, another story about bulls in Spain has made the international press. We saw yesterday that they're trying to ban dwarf bullfighting in the country at the moment. And a headline from The Guardian says that a bull has reportedly been rammed to death by a car after ring escape in Spain. Police in Spain are investigating after a half-ton fighting bull pushed its way out of a bull ring, injuring 2 people as it charged through the streets of a small town in central Spain before being reportedly rammed to death by a car. The incident took place in the early hours of Sunday, as many in the village of Brihuega, population 2,400, had gathered in the local bull ring to take in a concurso de recortadores in which participants take turns jumping, twirling and manoeuvring around a bull or heifer in hopes of being deemed the most courageous in the ring. Residents decided to intervene by striking the bull with a vehicle, one resident told eldiario.es. They hit the bull until it died, said the unnamed resident. So there we go, another story of a bull in Spain meeting a tragic death, being rammed by a car. And I wonder if one day people will start looking for other forms of entertainment at these town festivals that don't involve bulls. Now let's have a look at some of the comments from previous videos. One here from Marie: my bills went down from €80 per month to €11 with 6 solar panels and a switch to a renewable electric company. Yeah, Marie, thanks for the comment, and obviously referring to something that we saw yesterday, how a lot of people in Spain are starting to look for cheaper energy sources, for example solar. I said yesterday that it's definitely something that I'm considering, given the record energy prices that we have at the moment. And I asked the question whether it would be worth my while to put some solar panels on the roof, and judging from your comment there, it does seem to be the case. One here from Helen: hi Stuart, regarding vaccination, are people aware that people not in the Spanish Public Health Service can still register for COVID injections? For example, people with private insurance or living here and not yet fully registered. Yeah, Helen, thanks for the comment, and I'm not sure if people are aware of that or not, that they can register to have a COVID vaccine even if they don't belong to the Spanish health system. We saw yesterday that some autonomous communities have got rid of the appointment system, and you can now basically just turn up and get a COVID-19 vaccine. So if that is the case, you're living in Spain but don't belong to the public health system, only have private health insurance, and you haven't been vaccinated yet and you want to be vaccinated, you could probably now get that done. One here from Diogo: in Portugal, the vaccine rejection rate is very, very low, even in younger generations. In fact, the far-right party Chega entered into the conspiracy theory around vaccine effectiveness, and they are going down in the latest polls, the first time since the party's beginning. The heatwave will also reach Portugal. The Alentejo region could have temperatures up to 45 degrees Celsius in some places, and even Lisbon will have 40 degrees next Monday. Thankfully, you are in paradise, no more than 23 degrees Celsius in the next 7 days. Yeah, Diogo, thanks for the comment, and you're right, I am in a weather paradise at the moment. The temperature here rarely gets above 23 or 24 degrees Celsius. Even when the rest of the country gets very, very hot, temperatures here never seem to go up. And when it comes to the vaccination plan here in Portugal, I have seen that the country is taking it very seriously. In fact, there's a high-ranking military officer in charge of the vaccination plan in this country. He appears every day on the news in his combat fatigues, and I imagine this is to highlight the seriousness of the situation. But as you mentioned there, Portugal, unfortunately not free of conspiracy-pushing political parties. One here from Dharma: I go to Spain for culture, historic sites and fantastic food. That's why most people travel there. Not so much for its beaches. For that, I would say Portugal has much better beaches right next door. Yeah, Dharma, thanks for the comment. We saw a similar comment from somebody yesterday. saying the reason that why they come to Spain is because of the culture, because of the food, because of the history, and not because of the beaches. I said it yesterday, but I'll say it again. Spain is a very diverse country. People come to the country for a lot of different reasons. Some people come for the culture, some people come for the food, some people come for the history, some people come for the beaches, and some people come for the good weather. And you're right, Portugal does have very good beaches. That's one of the reasons I come here, for the beaches, but the water is very, very cold if you compare it to some of those Mediterranean beaches. One here from Chopper, speaking of Alan Jones, did you see the Australia Sky News channel got banned for 7 days from YouTube? They had to delete dozens of videos promoting unproven COVID-19 treatments. Yeah, Chopper, thanks for the comment. I mentioned controversial Australian shock jock Alan Jones yesterday, who now has a show on Sky News Australia, and I said that a lot of the things that he talks about on that channel are absolute nonsense in my opinion, especially when it comes to some of the controversial topics of the day, for example COVID-19, vaccinations, or climate change. A few people in the comment section criticised me for saying those things about Alan Jones. Obviously they are Alan Jones fans, and let's be honest, he does have a few fans out there. But he does seem to get a lot of his content banned, for example what you mentioned there, when he's talking about COVID-19 treatments. I think he's even had some of his newspaper columns cancelled in recent times. But that's what he does. He likes to stir people up. He likes to give what he calls an alternative truth, and he likes to convince people that his alternative truth is the whole truth, the only truth, and nothing but the truth. But unfortunately, a lot of the times it's not based on the truth of the scientific majority, but the scientific minority, and there lies the problem. And finally, one here from William. I booked an off-season vacation to Spain for next February. Is that a bad time of the year? Would October or November be a better time of year? I love your no-nonsense presentation. Yeah, William, thanks for the comment, and glad to see that you like the videos and the presentation. February can be a bit of a cold month in Spain, especially in the majority of mainland Spain. If you go to the Canary Islands, it's a different story because that is the peak tourist season there. And if you're in a place like Andalusia, you could also find good weather. But unfortunately, as I said, the rest of the country can be quite cold. Personally, I think that October, maybe half of November, is a good time to visit Spain before the cold comes. It's not too hot, it's not too cold, and you should be able to do plenty of outdoor activities and travelling at that time of year. On that note, I'll wrap the video up. Questions and comments, please leave them in the section below. Debate the video out as you normally do. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it, thumbs down if you didn't. I'll see you in the next one. Hasta luego.